quilting friends. Happy Feature Friday, everybody. Welcome back to my sewing studio. It's great to have you all with me for another Friday. I am going to be finishing up the little quilt that we've been working on together the past couple weeks. I've just got one small section left to do, and I have an idea in my head of what I want, and I'm hoping that we can make it happen. I'm gonna do a little manipulation of the system, and we're gonna use some of our editing features, and hopefully it will come out the way I want it to. Quilting is experimental sometimes, and this is definitely one of those situations. So I'm glad y'all are along the ride with me and hopefully cheering me on with this. We're gonna use some different editing features and the set start point feature to get this to work out the way I have in my head. So let's go ahead and turn around and give it a go. As you can see, we are on the last little bit of this quilt. I've just got these half square triangles here that essentially make an on-point square. When we look at what the quilt is really supposed to look like when it's up on a wall or used, this here is actually the top of my quilt. And this is the bottom of my quilt. So when I'm putting what I want into this square, this is going to be the top and this is going to be the bottom of this square on point, just so that you know what's going on when I go rotating things. But so far I'm really happy with how this has turned out. So I hope what we're going to work on now is going to work out right. So we've got this here. We are looking at my safe area that I've set for my quilting, and I am in layout. We're going to go ahead and add a pattern layout box and mark out that square on point. So I'm going to hit my plus sign and set my points of my pattern box. I'm going to start over here and get that corner marked with my little plus sign. Move down to the next point on the bottom here and hit my plus sign. Move up to this corner and hit my plus sign and get to my fourth corner of this square on point and hit my check mark. And now you can see that I've got my square on point. I am in my full layout view, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to just my pattern box view. And now we just have that pattern box. I'm going to go ahead and go into my patterns next and go into my filter here. I'm gonna type what I'm looking for because I know it's called bunnies. So I'm gonna type in bun, and here is the pattern. So this is an edge-to-edge design, and I really like this little bunny rabbit up here at the top. And I'm gonna see if I can do a little work to just get that rabbit inside of my square on point block. So we're going to choose this and hit our check mark, and there it is. And as you can see, that's a nice big edge-to-edge design. We've got a start point over here and a stop point over here, but we need to make it fit in this little on point square. The first thing I'm going to want to do is rotate this because, like I said, up here would be the top of my quilt and down here would be the bottom of my quilt. So that rabbit, I want it kind of facing off to the left. So we are in edit right now, and I'm sorry you're getting my lamp above my head. Right here is my edit feature, and I'm going to come over to rotate. And I'm going to rotate this so that rabbit would be looking off to the left if the quilt were off the frame. So I'm going to hit my 45-degree rotate here and just turn him a little bit. And now he would be facing the correct direction. So now I'm going to need to move him into place and see size-wise how he's fitting in that box. I'm going to go ahead and use my touch screen for this. So I'm going to touch the pattern. I get my green dotted line around the whole pattern and all of my nodes show up. So remember, when you have your nodes available, you can use your touch screen for your editing features instead of your buttons over here. Your blue nodes will help you change the size. Your red node rotates and your green node moves. So I'm going to hit my green node and just move that little rabbit over top of my pattern layout box. Now he's not too far off from size, so we won't have to scale it too much, but just a little bit. So I am actually going to use my scale feature. I'm going to come over here and highlight that. And I'm going to use my proportion lock because I want to keep the proportions of that rabbit. So I'm going to hit my lock. And now that I've done that, I'm just going to use my minus sign here and just change the size a little bit, trying to get him more appropriately sized here. So he's a little bit smaller. I'm going to use my move node again and kind of get him in that box. I need to make him a little bit tinier. So I'm going to come here and just use my minus again and move him into place just again. Just another click or two will get him to the right size. So this is a little bit fiddly. You have to mess with this to get it exactly the way you want. There we go. I think I've got him. I think that looks pretty good. So he is in the box, facing in the right direction for my particular quilt top. So I think that looks pretty good. We've got the little swirly lines that actually connect him into his edge-to-edge design. We've got a little bit of this carrot in the box and some leaves off the other carrot in the box, but I think we'll deal with that in a minute. So I'm happy with this, but we've got all of this other stuff hanging outside of our box, and I'm going to make that disappear using my crop feature. So I'm going to go ahead and just come over and hit my crop feature. And that gives us our options across the bottom. And your first option is your traditional crop. That will take care of anything that is outside your pattern box. So when I do that, all of it's gone. And now I can just concentrate on what's inside my pattern box here. So as you can see, we still have a little bit of that leaf and a little bit of that carrot and my swirls. So when I go to stitch out, I don't want those elements in here. So I'm actually going to use my set the start point and start my pattern instead of where the green node is. I'm going to come up here next to the rabbit's neckline and start stitching there. And then when it stitches through the rabbit, I'm going to try to stop my machine up before it starts the swirl coming off of him. So I'm kind of tricking the system and manipulating it to work the way I want it to. And I'm hoping it works out for me. So let's go ahead and go to our home button and see if this is going to work out for us. I love experimenting, and I'm glad you guys are here to support me through that. So here we are. We've got our pattern ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my stitching, and I am going to hit my green go button, and that brings up my pattern stitch out message. It normally tells us that our machine is going to move to our start point, make sure your needle's not in, but I don't want to hit my green check mark. I want to hit my set my start point button so I can choose where this is going to start. So it says move your machine to the desired start point. So I'm going to move my machine, and you can see my crosshairs moving. I'm going to move down to where his little neck starts, and I'm going to hit my crosshair zoom button and just zoom in a little bit to make sure that I am getting as close as possible to where his little pattern's gonna start. I don't mind if there's a couple stitches before, this is hard to do one-handed, a couple stitches before the rabbit, but I don't want that whole trail of lines. So we can start about there. So I'm going to hit my check mark over here, and it says pull up my bobbin thread. So it moved into place. I'm going to pull my bobbin thread up. Sorry guys, I'm trying to do this one-handed. pull my bobbin thread up. So I'm gonna hit my check mark and we're gonna see what happens. Took my tie off stitches and I'm gonna zoom back out just so that I can see where it's going on the screen, because I'm gonna wanna stop it when we get around the bunny rabbit, because I don't want it to stitch out that little trail. There we are. It's done. I might pick out a few of these stitches and then tie it off because it started the trail. I didn't catch it quite fast enough, but I've got my whole rabbit and a little bit of that trail. And you can see I got really close at starting at his neckline here. So I might just pick out some of these stitches and tie that knot together. I'll be really careful not to tear these stitches out. I'll tie a knot with the tails after pulling these stitches out. But wow, that worked out. That worked out way better than I thought it would, guys. I'm really happy. So now we've got, let me move my machine out of the way, our little center medallion in the quilt with a really cute rabbit stitched in it. So now this little project's finished. Thank you guys for coming along the journey with me. I'm pretty happy with how it all turned out. You never know from time to time if something's gonna work out the way you want it to or not, but we are working with a computer system, so it doesn't hurt to try and see if it's gonna work out. You have the screen to work with, you have all of your editing features. It doesn't hurt to try, and if it doesn't look good on the screen, you can always back up and try something different. So remember to use all of your creative juices and give it a go, because you might get exactly what you want in the end. Thanks so much for joining me, and we'll see you guys soon.